In the meantime, it is a huge day in D.C. Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner is on Capitol Hill. He's going to be testifying at a House hearing on the AIG bailout. Representative Darrell Issa released emails earlier this month that indicated the New York Fed asked AIG to keep data from the public. Bloomberg's Lizzie is standing by with him now on Capitol Hill. Lizzie.
Hey, Deirdre. Yeah, Darrell Issa really kicked off this investigation into the disclosure over AIG, what the Federal Reserve Bank of New York paid to AIG's counterparties. So let me ask you, I've looked at some of the excerpts from Secretary Geithner's testimony, and he says failure to basically prop up AIG, the consequences would have been catastrophic to the economy, that it would have gone under. Do you not buy that argument?
What we've learned is that that wasn't the only opinion, and that, in fact, the opinions that made it clear that letting AIG fail was viable were not presented to the other Fed governors by Chairman Bernanke. They were hidden by Chairman Bernanke with
By Chairman Bernanke?
By Chairman Bernanke, with the obvious acquiescence of Tim Geithner, because he would have seen it. So what we have is yes, there was no other choice, because they considered no other choice. They actually stopped negotiations about what the right amount would be paid in order to pay 100%. A lot of this is not, do we bail out the banks? It's, do we bail them out at 100% with a backdoor bailout that they never have to repay?
Well, what we've seen in some of these emails that you have disclosed, that your staff has unearthed, is that the folks at the Fed, their general counsel, said we had no leverage, we had no bargaining power. The BlackRock presentation says the banks wouldn't have accepted less than par. What do you say to that?
You know, I think they call it a Dutch auction, but if they had put out and said, we're going to guarantee $20 billion, everyone put in your bids of how much you want to be paid off par to get to be the winner of the first $20 billion tranche out of 60-some billion, do you think that everyone would have put in 100 cents and taken a chance on not getting it? Or would they have discounted at least a little bit? There was no auction. There was no attempt to get a lower price. And that's part of the scandal. But more importantly, it's the covering up of it. If they told us we're paying 100 cents on the dollar because they think it's the right thing to do, we could have at least considered it. It was hidden.
Why zero in on Tim Geithner? After all, Treasury says he was recused as of November 24th.
Well, you know, in the word recuse, there's a couple of questions. One of them is, if you were recused, where's the document? What were you recused from? You didn't resign. You didn't stop going to the office. So your recusal seems to be after the fact and undescribed. One of the questions that I'm sure he'll be asked today is, well, exactly how do we know what you were recused from, and did you put it in writing? I think we're going to find out it was never put in writing. After the fact, he's going to be able to say, I was recused from what I didn't want to know about. Or let me rephrase that, I didn't want my fingerprints on. But in fact, did he know about these items? Because if you know about them and you allow them to happen, then your recusal is not an explanation of a cover-up.
Well, his name is not on these emails, though, that we've seen after a certain date.
November 24th is an interesting date because the decision to pay and the actual payment of 100% goes back to September. So we're really talking about September 15th. And it's one of the concerns we have is that the Fed failed to comply with the subpoena, failed to answer questions. Tim Geithner has failed to answer questions to us. Well, he met with some of our Democrat counterparts in secret about things that went back to the beginning in September, which is really still going to be appropriately on the table today.
Well, let me ask you then, should he resign?
The president has to decide if he has confidence in a person based on actions beforehand. So a lot of it's going to be, how does he answer questions about what he did then and what he's done since about maintaining secrecy? You have to understand that as late as May of this year, they were demanding that the SEC lock up these documents until 2018. That happened on his watch.
All right, you're not giving us a formal yes or no, so we're going to have to watch the hearing. Deirdre, I'm going to send it back to you in New York.